What is going on YouTube? In today's episode, we're assembling the engine for the quarantine cart. Stay tuned.
In the evening you've been calling. In the evening you've been calling.
Alright, so as I said in the last video, in today's video we are going to be disassembling and installing our Go Fast bits. So we've got some billet aluminum parts that will take the red line up from 3600 probably closer to 7000 or 7500 RPMs. And basically that will up the top speed. But there are a few things that we have to do before we can assemble the engine. So let's go ahead and take apart the engine case, get the cam installed and the crankshaft installed, and make sure that there is enough clearance between the two. Before we check clearance between the billet aluminum connecting rod and the crankshaft and the camshafts, I'm going to go ahead and assemble the cylinder head. That way we can get all of our cylinder head parts off of our workbench and we'll have a little bit more room to work. Our timing marks are lined up, and what we're going to do is rotate the assembly to verify that there aren't any clearance issues between the crankshaft and the cam lobes. Alright, we don't have any clearance issues between the cam lobes and the crankshaft. I'm going to go ahead and remove this camshaft, and we are going to remove the crankshaft. One of the modifications you have to do to the crankshaft is you have to file down these connecting rod journals in order to have the clearance you need to clear the high lift cam lobes. Now that we know that the camshaft is going to clear the crankshaft, we're going to take the painter's tape and put masking tape on the rod journal just to make sure that when I was filing down the crankshaft that I wasn't accidentally going to nick and scratch the machined surface of the crankshaft. The next step with the billet rod is to remove the two 12-point bolts for the rod cap and set them aside, and what we're going to use is plastic gauge to measure and make sure that our rod bearing clearances are within spec. So the plastic gauge is just a little piece of string. It's a little too long, so I'm going to cut some off. Lay it across like that, and then we're going to take our connecting rod, we're going to install our bearings. The bearings only fit one way. You want to make sure the hole in the bearing is lined up with the hole in the crank or the connecting rod. ARC recommends 60 inch-pounds. So there's 60 inch-pounds for the initial torque. So as you can see, the plastic gauge has been pressed down. You can compare it against the lines on the plastic gauge in order to take a reading of your bearing clearance. This is 0.0025, so it's within our oil clearance, so we can go ahead and continue assembling the engine. So, just got all the billet stuff installed. Oh, hold on. You feel it?
Twice!
Nice!
I have the two wheels twice. This one was like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna die! This is awesome!
I may have raced the engine off of the go-kart. I don't know. But
What?
I said I may have raced the engine off the go-kart. I tightened it. I tried to tighten it down while I was out there, but oh, this isn't good.
No. That's
But
funny
still,
just because it came off.
Yeah, the chain got wedged in between the bolts.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna tighten it up, adjust the chain, make sure it runs, and then probably head home for dinner.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, definitely. Like I was coming around this corner right here, and I was feeling the G's. Like there's some serious G forces in this track.
Yeah.
You're kind of expecting it, but not really. Tools.
It's all just like practice anyway.
Yeah.
It's like time.
Yeah, it's a learning process.
Yeah.
If you didn't bring the tools, this would send you home.
Yeah.
If you couldn't find somebody to borrow something from. The motor mount came loose. But I lapped that shifter cart, or I lapped that rental cart twice. And then I was coming around to lap him for the third time, and it just locked up, and I watched him go by me 2 times, which means he won. So, we'll go ahead and loosen up the motor mount that I just tightened for some reason.
In the evening you'll be calling. In the evening you'll be calling. In the evening you'll be calling.